and my privilege. So welcome as we settle into our shared sacred space. This is a good time to silence your telephone and whatever other noisemakers you have. Not the kids, but you know, the little electronic bits and pieces. And the first thing we're going to have will be the committee moments, because even though we're meeting only virtually, we still have committees, and guess what? They're working virtually too. I'll turn this over to Chloe to manage that.
Hello, all. So if you either want to go ahead and raise your hand physically or in the virtually, I will go ahead and call upon you. I'm not seeing, let's see, participants. No.
Judith has her hand.
Yep, it looks like Margie's got her virtual hand up. So I'm going to go ahead and call Margie first. Margie, you're going to have to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning. Sorry about that. Technology. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have our water communion. And last week I talked about asking you all to submit short videos of your water source. And, you know, this year is challenging, just like it is for everything else. We aren't, most of us aren't traveling, and a lot of us bring back water from travels. But you know what? Some of the best stories we come up with are from what seem to be very mundane sources. So this year, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to put a little more thought into our water, where it comes from, what it means to us. And please get a little video done. You can do it on your phone, your tablet, and email it to membership@UUS. Oh, goodness sake. You know what? The email address is in Notable News, and so is my phone number, and I'm going to put it in the chat.
You named something else. And then this extremist.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to check for virtual hands now. Not seeing any virtual hands. I see Judith's physical hand. So I'll go ahead and call on Judith.
Thank you, Chloe. Just so everybody knows, anyone that's listed as a host on the software cannot raise their virtual hand. So religious education has a disappointing announcement for committee moments this morning. We were planning an awesome class today, including Box Sunday, which we are not going to be able to have, because as I'm sitting here in our RE building already with all the safety precautions that I got to tell you, the task force worked their butts off to get to me on time. Yay, Kelly, sorry. And Trista and everybody else. It's pouring outside where I'm sitting right now. Well, outside the building. So cardboard boxes and wet grass do not mix, even if the rain stopped. So we're going to postpone. In my email, I said it would be September 27th, but I have a couple of children that are giving me a hard time about making it happen sooner. So look for an email and we will work it out. I'm very sorry, folks, but Mother Nature did not schedule with me. Tag.
All right. It looks like Chloe Hatfield has her hand up. Go ahead, Chloe.
I just want to say that I have some boxes that I can donate to Box Day.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. I'm looking for other hands. I got Kelly. Kelly's hands up. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Chloe. And I'm just wanted to give everyone an update on the task force. It's RTF. Stands for Returning Task Force. So the update is that I'm proud to say that we had our first meeting on Thursday, August the 27th. We had 12 individuals who have said yes to participate in the task force. Just a reminder that our goal and purpose of the task force is really to determine the main hotspots or criteria that will allow us to open our fellowship safely. So the goal of the task force is not necessarily to determine a date of when we're going to reopen, but when we do have a date, how to reopen safely. So just a little bit of what we did in terms of how we're organized. We have divided into 4 subgroups. These subgroups are the outside facilities, inside facilities. We have our data analyst that's going to take a look at when is it safe to reopen in terms of are the cases going down, the positivity rate, uh, what all that healthcare data looks like. And then we have our final group, which Judith is our member and guest engagement group. Anything that a member or anyone that walks into the building, just to get them into the building safely, all the way from waivers to masks, to hand sanitation, to signs, communication. So we have a lot of work cut out for us right now. We are scheduled to meet every 2 weeks to dive into this criteria. At the end of this process, we'll then actually have a meeting with the board and then recommend all of this criteria to the board for approval. And then when it's approved, then the good news is that we have a solid plan that we hope that covers everything that is going to allow us to return safely. So we're working really hard on it. And again, thanks for all the help and the feedback to our task force for all their great comments on Thursday night. And then thank you. I know that's a lot of information, but we're just now starting to organize. So thank you, Chloe.
No problem. All right, I'm looking for any other hands in the chat or up. Okay, so I have my own one. I dropped it in the chat. It's Millennial Group is meeting this Thursday at 6:30. I dropped my contact information and the Zoom link into the chat. You can also find us on Facebook. But yeah, 6:30 Thursday, September 3rd. Millennials 21 and up. However, if you identify with millennials, we'd love to have you come join us. And Margie also dropped her information for water service videos in the chat as well. So if you're trying to find that, go ahead and find that. We've got lots of thank yous for Kelly and the reopening task force in there as well. And it looks like, unless I'm mistaken, we are done with committee moments. Go ahead, Paula.
All right, so grab your chalice and your lighters and read along with me. We're going to light our chalices. Oh, apparently we're going to have opening words for. So I do have some opening words. You may or may not have ever heard the Navajo say walk in beauty. It's something they say to each other a lot. And it doesn't mean take a hike through Blue Gardens. It means to walk in beauty means to live in harmony with what's going on around you, not to complain about the weather, but to go out and dance in the rain, not to complain about the ants, but to figure out why the ants are there and to figure out why we have ants in the first place and accept them. And their belief is that when we get sick, physically sick or heart sick, it's because we're no longer walking in beauty. We've strayed from that path and we need to bring ourselves back into harmony. And so I wanted to share that with you this morning. So there's some opening words, and now we can light some chalices. And repeat with me. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And even at this distance, we reaffirm our relationship with each other. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. A special welcome to our visitors. I know that we have them out there. I've seen several names that I don't recognize, though I haven't really scanned all the pictures because I'm not really free to do that. But I've seen the names, and so I welcome you. Visit more than once. We are a lay-led conversation, which means we don't have a minister of our own. So what we have is various speakers from academics and from various kinds of ministers, some UU and some other ministers, and other speakers we might think are of interest. Then that's all over the map. So do visit with us several times and do get acquainted with us as individuals. Feel free, though I can't offer you coffee or tea right now, feel free to linger after the service is over and chat with people in this group. We'll open up all the mics and we'll all have a little free-for-all thing here. So do that, be that, and be welcome, and know that you are welcome here. In this congregation, we also share our joys and concerns with one another. It helps us stay connected. So if you have a joy or a concern, you can raise your virtual hand or your in the picture hand, and Chloe, on duty Chloe, will recognize you and manage this part of our service.
I'm filling multiple roles today. Our for virtual hand.
we have a wonderful director of religious education, and she has time for all ages for all of us, from 6 to 96. That covers enough territory. It's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning. I actually have a couple helpers this morning, and I'm going to ask Joey and Beth to both unmute their mics. So as we go through the time for all ages this morning, they are ready to read when it is their time. This morning, we have a speaker who is going to talk about, amongst other things, the joys of journaling. I believe that's accurate. Not if I'm not way off. Okay, good. Good. And as we thought about it, we decided we would share some journal entries from folks in our world who are with us and who have passed on in past, some young folks who shared with the world their journals in times of what they were going through at that time. So we are going to read first me, I believe, and then Joey, and then Beth. And the message, if you think about it, relates, among other things, to our fifth principle this morning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. But the right of conscience is the ability to express ourselves and the need to share what's going on with us. So I will share the screen this morning. They all have this, but so that you can read along, because sometimes it is better to read along than to just rather close your eyes and listen. That is good also. So I will start, and then Joey, and then Miss Beth you will hear speak. Transcribed in the Gutenberg Project. This is Louisa May Alcott. I rose at 5 and had my bath. I love cold water. And then we had our singing lesson with Mr. Lane. After breakfast, I washed dishes and ran on the hill till 9 and had some thoughts. It was so beautiful up there. Did my lessons, wrote and spelled and did songs. Father asked us what was God's noblest work. Anna said men, but I said babies. Men are often bad. Babies never are. We had a long talk, and I felt better after it and cleared up. And then when she was older, she was 17 years old at this point, she continues. So every day is a battle, and I'm so tired. I don't, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. I don't want to live, only it's cowardly to die till you've done something. I can't talk to anyone but Mother about my troubles, and she has so many now to bear. I try not to add any more. I know God is always here, ready to hear, but heaven's so far away in the city, and I so heavy, I can't fly up to him. And then in a postscript in the same journal, she writes, we had smallpox in our family this summer, caught from some poor immigrants whom Mother took into our garden and fed one day. We girls had it lightly, but Father and Mother were very ill, and we had a curious time of exile, danger, and troubles. No doctors, and all got well. Louisa May Alcott.
The Diary of Anne Frank, July 8th, 1942. Dear Kitty, years seem to have passed since Sunday, and now so much has happened. It is just as if the whole world had turned upside down. But I am still alive, Kitty, and that is the main thing, Daddy says. Yes, I'm still alive, indeed, but don't ask where or how. You wouldn't understand a word. So I will begin by telling you what happened on Sunday afternoon. We put on heaps of clothes as if we were going to the North Pole. The sole reason to take clothes with us No Jew in our situation would have dreamed of going out with a suitcase. Then, after they'd been hiding in their attic for several months, on September 28th, 1942, nothing, I repeat, nothing about me is right. My general appearance, my character, my manners are discussed from A to Z. I'm expected, by order, to simply swallow all of the harsh word and shouts in silence, and I am not used to this. In fact, I can't. I'm not going to take all these insults lying down. I'll show them that Anne Frank wasn't born yesterday. They'll be surprised, and perhaps they'll keep their mouths shut when I let them see that I am going to start educating them.
Pakistan, Malala Yousafzai.
Oh, I spelled it wrong there. Sorry. Yousafzai.
Malala Yousafzai, Pakistani child education activist Malala Yousafzai has jointly won the Nobel Peace Prize, becoming the youngest ever recipient. In 2009, she wrote a diary chronicling life under Taliban rule in Pakistan's northwestern Swat Valley. 3 years later, militants shot her in the head. She survived and went on to be a global voice for education rights. These are some of the most affecting moments in the diary, which first appeared on BBC Urdu. I had a terrible dream Saturday, 3 January. I had a terrible dream yesterday with military helicopters and the Taliban. I have had such dreams since the launch of the military operation in Swat. My mother made me breakfast and I went off to school. I was afraid going to school because the Taliban had issued an edict banning all girls from attending schools. Thursday, 15 January. Today, the last day before the Taliban's edict comes into effect, and my friend was discussing homework as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened.
Beth, you're on mute. Something happened. Beth, you're on mute. We still can't hear you, Beth. You're still on mute.
Yeah, she's trying.
Okay.
Let's try one more time. Beth, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish for you. Is that okay? All right. Let's see. No? Okay, I'm going to finish for you then. Today is the last day before the Taliban's edict comes into effect, and my friend was discussing homework as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Today I also read the diary written for BBC in Urdu and published in the newspaper. My mother liked my pen name, Gul Makai, and said to my father, "Why not change your name to Gul Makai?" I also like the name because my real name means grief-stricken. So, and I feel bad. I wanted Beth to finish that. The statements are so relevant to today's world and so clearly a statement of what happens when you process as a child at a time of growing up. And now I turn it over to those in the next person, Miss Paula, right?
Afraid so. You can tell you're still in church because we're still collecting an offering. And so we're going to ask you to make your contributions, and you can make them by going to our the little URL that's on your screen right now, or you can go You can write a check and put it in the mail in some old-fashioned way. And in the meantime, enjoy the music and the quiet. Perfect. So if I can have the screen back, I'm going to talk again. Thank you. Our speaker today, we always have a speaker. Our speaker today is Karen Cowden. She's a master teacher. She is in fact a teacher of teachers, as well as being a teacher of children. And so she's going to talk to us a little bit about that and about some of the ways that she helps people learn. Because helping people learn is not just about pumping information into their heads and making it stick there. It's a whole lot more than that to it. And I'm turning over the microphone to her at this time. She's going to have to unmute herself.
Unmute yourself, Karen. Unmute yourself.
Hi, you all. Thank you so much for letting me come to your space today virtually and share a little of my story in journaling. All of the prep work laid with the other journals was simply wonderful. And we'll speak to that in just a moment. But I wanted to share my screen today about 3 words that were really powerful to me and hopefully walk you through a journal activity that may show you how powerful your voice can be. So let me do that now. So I have been reading for some time, as you can witness behind here. And one of the most powerful books that I use in my course is called The Power of Habit. We're going to be discussing that in a few minutes. And in my process of learning how to journal better, I learned that the habit loop that I had been reading about in this text also was part of my life, whether I knew it or not. There's a habit loop of journaling, and it starts by discovery. Then we move to the phase of becoming who we best are in whatever experience we have. and then we explore that deeper. You can do journaling in different ways and different forms, and cultures have been doing it all over the world in art, music, metalry, fabric, pottery, and even written forms. I wanted to show you mine. Is it going to the next one? There. Take a moment, if you will, and look at my 9-year-old quilt from Brownies. Now, this isn't written. It's no level of Malala or Louise May Alcott or even Anne Frank, as mentioned by our speakers previously in Times for All Ages. But what it is it's an expression of how I discovered my story mattered and that my story was worthy enough to be documented. It took a whole tribe of the troop leaders to put it together and sew it. I certainly didn't have skills like that at age 9. But what I found is that through this process, I was building a habit loop of telling my story. And as I mentioned, Charles Duhigg speaks to this in his book, Power of Habit. So I've asked one of my friends to read this quote. It'll be on the screen as well. So Charlotte, if you'll unmute, I think you have this one.
According to Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg, it is critical that every young person launch into the future.
Oh, Charlotte, I'm so sorry. I put you wrong. I'm so sorry. It is Chloe. Chloe, do you have this one? I'm so sorry, you all.
Yeah, this one's mine.
This one's you. I'm so sorry, Charlotte. You're coming second.
Once a small win has been accomplished, forces are set in motion that favor another small win. A huge body of research has shown that small wins have enormous power.
Thank you, Chloe. I apologize for getting those out of order. Why I wanted to bring this to your attention is that as a young child at age 9, that was a small win for me in my power of becoming a journalist. So I invite you now to join me on this journey. You're welcome to grab just a sheet of notebook paper if you'd like, or you're welcome to use the chat feature. I've asked Paula to moderate the chat while we go through this process. I'm going to ask you a series of 3 questions through this entire presentation. Let's begin with this first one. It's time to practice. When did you discover that you had a powerful voice? You may write in the chat. Paper, pencil. We'll take about 2 to 3 minutes for this process. Seeing some wonderful things about when I saw my children repeating to others things that I said to them. It's a great one. From early on as a child, I wrote a cathartic, healing, often dark poetry. That's a nice one too. When you became a vegan. We'll take about another minute here. After you finished undergrad school. President of Student Council.
Because that was on
Well,
Zoom.
let's bring that to a close, if you will. So I'm going to share my screen again. Good. There's times in our lives that we know are what we call the moment of crisis, where the impact of such an experience made a marked change enough that you shifted your entire worldview. That comes through in the journals of Malala and Louise May Alcott and Anne Frank, again, as mentioned. And it came through with mine as well. I moved into the phase of becoming. This is my reflective journal at age 43. And I became more resilient. I retooled my life because after an extreme set of grief experiences and loads of insomnia, I needed to revisit what was my vision from middle womanhood through the next phase. Again, in this experience, I had the support of a team leader and I had other people who were in it together with me. Moreover, my tribe. And together I found my voice in this new phase. The second book I've been reading over the next season of my life has been Building Resilience in Children and Teens. And Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg speaks to this concept of how we build resilience through tricky times in our lives. Charlotte, if you could share that quote, it'll be on your screen as well.
Yes, now it's my turn. Thank you. According to Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg, it is critical that every young person launch into the future feeling as if he or she can bring something important to the world. No particular teenager or child should feel like they have failed because their particular gift to the world was not on display in an academic setting.
Thank you, Charlotte. In that phase in my life, I was struggling with my path as a professor. Did I have anything valuable to give anymore? Was my voice enough to make a change in the masses that sit in my classroom? And also, in all reality, I was in a crisis state and I needed to reflect on it. In order to reflect on it, I asked myself a question. So here's the second question I ask of you. What crisis helped you become or develop more grounding in yourself? Again, I invite you to write your responses in the chat, pen and paper as you feel moved. When my young sister was died, uprooting your family and moving to Florida, years and years of layoffs. I'm reading Birth of My Son, Death of My Father 2 weeks after. Very life-changing. Postpartum depression. All of these things, we'll take another minute to speak to this here. The pandemic, Crohn's disease, divorce. We'll bring that to a close. Correct. For all of this, we are through the habit loop again. We have started with our discovery and moved into a phase of becoming, whether it is through a quilt or an artistic journal, meaning cutting literally pictures out of magazines and taping them down, then writing. Whatever it is, you can explore more of yourself through very simple tools. Journaling doesn't have to be pen and paper and lots of hours. It can be simple 2-minute writings like we're doing today. Oh, goodness gracious. There. In the last few years, I've turned from writing journals and spending quite a bit of time in pen and paper because I don't have time with a busy 4-year-old. But I'm still exploring. I'm exploring new ways to find my balance. My journals now have taken a new path. I cut things out of magazines and I glue them down, and I take a moment to reflect, just either on my cell phone or in pen and paper. What is that word meaning for me? What's coming to light when I see that word? And in this moment of pandemic, some of us might just need to have it be that simple. So as I close today, I'm going to ask you to listen to one last bit of research. My friend Anna has this to speak. It's from Carol Dweck's new book, which is updated a vision of the mindset, new psychology of success. She wrote a book just called Mindset, the Psychology of Success, many years ago, and has updated it with new things. So I wanted to bring that to your attention today. Anna, if you can unmute.
Sure. According to Dr. Carol Dweck, the other thing exceptional people seem to have is a special talent for converting life setbacks into future successes. Creativity researchers concur. In a poll of 143 creativity researchers, there was a wide agreement about the number one ingredient in creative achievement, and it was exactly the kind of perseverance and resilience produced by the growth mindset.
Thank you. Growth mindset, habit loops, resilience, all of these words come from our ability to reflect on our life and where we are in our journey. So, as our final little writing activity today, please answer this question again in the chat or writing if you feel able and willing. Where are you noticing an ability to convert your life setbacks into future successes? At work, I'm reading. Chronic pain that lets you reframe. Navigating higher education experiences they thought not possible until this moment. Setbacks are fodder for my writing career. Absolutely. Every day, meditating and having children. ADHD, knowing how to understand it, how to work with it. Good. We'll take another minute here. Well, as I conclude my presentation today, do you feel like you've gone on a little journaling journey with me? And if so, how did you become or discover or explore something more about yourself through this just brief time of 15 to 20 minutes? Sure. I'm reading More Practice Journaling. Journaling has saved me in many ways. Figuring out how to see loved ones and stay safe during this crisis. Well, my goal today was to just spend a little bit of time with you, sharing how journaling can be powerful. And it doesn't have to be a daily struggle. It can simply just be a habit of building your resilience and knowing through your growth mindset that you will overcome and develop. Education is simply the training of the mind to think. And if we think that journaling is hard, we probably won't do it. So I hope to have convinced you today that journaling isn't that hard. It's really a safe space for you to reflect on your development as a UU. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Karen. This has been amazing. I knew I could expect something really good, and I was not disappointed. Wow. She'll take all the appreciation that you can generate in the chat, and just so feel free to go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, we're skipping closing music. We're going to extinguish our chalice, and you can recite this with me, or at least read it quietly. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again and again and again. My closing words come from the Buddhist tradition and are as follows. May you be happy. This is a meditation for loving kindness. May you be healthy and free from suffering. May you love yourself just as you are with great kindness, no matter what happens. Thank you. Feel free to linger longer in the chat and either writing in the chat or speaking out loud. You're free to share things orally or on the chat. I want to give one more thanks to Chloe McElroy for her help, along with Pat Mitchell and Paul Mata doing technical things for us, and Trista Hall also managing some technical things for us.